We have some monster breaking news, including a future Hall of Famer. Adrian Wojnarowski still on the desk with us. What more can you tell us?
Cassidy, a big one. The Washington Wizards have agreed to send Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole and 2 future draft picks, a first-round pick, a second-round pick. And listen, this is the completion of that Bradley Beal trade with the Phoenix Suns. The Wizards have been looking for a situation to move Chris Paul onto, and now the Warriors step in, bring in Chris Paul to play with Klay Thompson, obviously Steph Curry, and move out Jordan Poole, who will start a new 4-year, $140 million contract extension this season. This is a Warriors team that has some difficult financial decisions to make, and they made one today. And moving on Jordan Poole to the Wizards, this is certainly going to give Golden State an opportunity to have a little more breathing room and working on a contract extension with Draymond Green, who they simply do not want to lose in free agency. And now Chris Paul, who wanted to play very much for a contender, his conversations with the Wizards, Michael Winger, their president, his agent, Stephen Human, they've been working all week to try to find a landing spot for Chris Paul. And it is the Warriors who now bring in this future Hall of Fame player as they try to maximize this window with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and certainly Washington now gathering up picks, gathering up young assets, and they're really in a full rebuild now.
Yeah, before this trade, the Warriors' payroll stood at $186 million. Mike Dunleavy was promoted from assistant GM to replace Bob Myers 6 days ago. Do you have any insight of just how busy he's been in his new role?
Yeah, Mike Dunleavy Jr., this has been a conversation in Golden State. Again, I think trying to find a way to balance out this payroll. Listen, Jordan Poole has been an outstanding young player for this organization. He did not have his best season last year. Certainly some circumstances around that, certainly at the beginning of the year and all that he went through with Draymond Green and the punch. But again, I think this is a play for this organization with Chris Paul, who's owed $30 million this year. This is an expiring deal for the Warriors. It gives them a chance to bring in a player who, in Chris Paul, you are not asking him to carry a significant big role. There's plenty of great guard play here, but certainly the role he could play could be significant as they try to get back into championship contention. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Joe Lacob, their owner, they've talked about, listen, wanting to still compete, but also the reality that with this new salary cap, with the payroll that has to eventually get reined in. 4 years, $140 million now off the books in Golden State. And part of what you see why draft picks going back to Washington in this is that kind of money. You saw it with Bradley Beal. This is a different time in the NBA with big contracts. And so the Warriors almost had to incentivize that a little bit in getting off that much money.
And Perk, Chris Paul, 38, turns 39 next May. Talking about just the type of role that he could play with this Warriors team, what do you envision that he can do with Golden State?
He's going to fit in just fine. The one thing that we saw over the last couple of years is that Chris Paul has shown us that he can actually play off the ball and be a capable knockdown three-point shooter. But I want to go back to Jordan Poole for a second. We saw the writing on the wall. We saw at times where Steph Curry was frustrated with him when he was taking shots that Steph should have felt like, that the Golden State Warriors felt like should have been in Steph's hands. We seen and we heard Draymond Green talk about how that incident basically broke up their locker room and they wasn't going to win the championship. We saw the drop-off. And the great Kevin Garnett used to always say, watch the young players after they get their money, and that's how you can see the real them. And to be honest, since Jordan Poole got the bag, he's been been a completely different player. I think this is a right move for the Warriors, and I would love to see Chris Paul alongside Steph Curry. That would be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, he signed that 4-year, $128 million deal back in 2022.
Well, I think it's a little unfair to be like, watch the player after he got his money. That is a very, very true thing. But I think in this situation, after you win a championship, you get your money, you get punched in the face, and now all of a sudden you're pissed off. So I don't think that that's a great indicator. I will say this about Jordan Poole and about a lot of young players out there. If you're in a great situation, and you have to recognize that very quickly you can end up on the Washington Wizards, no disrespect to them, in a rebuild space. So you can go and get a bunch of shots. No one will ever see you. You're not gonna be on TV. You're gonna be a part of a rebuild. Or you can fix your face, you can fix your attitude, and get back in line and compete for championships. So I think, while this is unfortunate, that they had to break up part of their young core, there were some money incentives on it. But ultimately, Chris Paul to the Warriors, I think that is a great move for Chris Paul.
But I want to clarify what I'm trying to explain to you so you can actually listen.
Okay.
What I'm saying is his attitude was different. We saw it in the postseason. It had nothing to do with the punches. We saw the frustration with the shot selection he was taking. It had nothing to do with him getting punched.
Agreed.
It's everything about him saying, I got my bag, so I got a bigger role. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. And you could go take it up with KG. I'm just telling you what he told me, and that's what I said. He's all-time great. He's Hall of Fame. I'm going to go listen to him.
Yeah, listen, in this league, the only thing you are guaranteed is the money on the contract. You are not guaranteed where you're going to play unless you're Bradley Beal and you negotiate
yes.
a no-trade clause. But that you are seeing fewer and fewer high-level players go into free agency. You are signing the extension where you are, and then essentially you go in the portal when you want out. Now, that's not what's happening with Jordan Poole. He was traded, but I think this is the reality of the league. We are going to see, a number of trades, and among them some with contracts like Jordan Poole, even early in their career, starting out on a new deal. But again, for Washington, he has a chance to be a cornerstone on a young team. They bring in Tyus Jones from Memphis. Jordan Poole, and so you start to see some younger perimeter players and some picks. They've got number 8 tonight. They've got second-round picks, and certainly they're in a position now.
We'll still see what they're going to do with Kyle Kuzma.
There's still there's a lot of interest in re-signing Kyle Kuzma. Again, if you're the Wizards, that's an asset. You want to try to keep that on your roster and then maybe make a different decision down the line with them. And Kuzma's going to have a lot of free agent opportunities out there. But again, Jordan Poole to the Washington Wizards for Chris Paul, remarkable.
Why are you touching me?
No one's touching you. Anyway, look, I like this for the Wizards. I really do. Because now they have a legitimate young backcourt. We know what Tyus Jones can do. We know what Jordan Poole can do. So now, okay, you need a couple of threes, but you're building something. For the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years, with the Bradley Beal sweepstakes, and then you give him a no-trade clause, and then you give him all the money, there is not a person in the NBA that had any idea what the Washington Wizards were doing the last 3 years, right? I understand Bradley Beal needs to be there, but no player was going to go team up. You didn't have the assets to go bring somebody else in. You were in the biggest purgatory, and then all of a sudden you have to trade Bradley Beal to get off the contract for probably, I don't want to say pennies on the dollar, but somewhat close to get off the contract. So now you can see a clear plan in Washington, and good for them in the organization.
You think Chris Paul can finally get his first championship with the Warriors?
No, I don't. But it's still... great fit.
You know what? There's a lot of hate in you and your heart. There's a lot of hate in your heart, bro.
I love the move for CP3, but you still got the Nuggets and you got the Suns. The Warriors are not my favorite because they added CP3.
I'm just saying you got a lot of hate in your heart.
No, I don't. I got a lot of love for everybody on this panel.
That's a lie.
That's a lot of veteran presence, though. Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. We'll see what happens with Draymond Green. As Woj said, a remarkable trade. The Washington Wizards are finalizing a deal to send Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors for a package that includes Jordan Poole and picks. Woj, thank you so mumuch for joining us. Maybe you'll come back the next block. We'll see. Yes.
Picks 2030 Golden State first-round pick, 2027 second-round pick to the Wizards.
He's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Thank you so much, Woj. Coming up on NBA Today, live from the NBA draft, Victor Wembanyama is gearing up to hear his name called in less